think before the season started, this was a much bigger matchup until Clemson lost pretty, convincingly to Duke on the first game of the year. But Florida State, I mean, Clemson has started to look a little better. Florida State struggled last week against Boston College, winning only by 2. So this is a little different. I'm not quite sure how good each one of these teams are. Those first couple of weeks, you can't really tell how good or bad a team is. Right now, I think Florida State is barely favored at Clemson. So this game is at Clemson, and it's a tough place to play. I think Clemson's 18-1 their last 19 games in Clemson. So it's not an easy game to go in there and this defeat Clemson. So Florida State will have their work cut out for them, but I'm sure they'll be up for this game where they might not have been up for Boston College. I think we mentioned on the reaction show that they were resting a lot of people for Florida State in that Boston College game. So you got to think that'll be a little bit different there. But Florida State, they come into this game 3-0, with their win over LSU, and then they came off the win up for Boston College. Jordan Travis, I've seen a lot of people say he struggled in that game. It probably wasn't one of his better games, but he did have 222 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't believe he had any interception. He had a quarterback rating of 167, so it wasn't a bad game by any chance. He just took what the defense gave him. He just, I think the rest of his team didn't really step up with him in that game. Florida State, after their win against LSU, many people had them in the Final Four. They total over 1,400 yards this year, so their offense is doing well. Defense still isn't quite clicking on all cylinders yet, but you got to think they'll be ready for this one. But I think their defense is rated 64th in team defense, so not as good as you would have thought with some of the pieces coming back. But sometimes you play up or down to your competition. Clemson comes in as obviously 2-1. They coming off a victory over Florida at Atlantic, 48-14. That was Kate Klubnik's probably best game with 3 touchdowns, while from 16-27 for 169 and 148 quarterback rating. So, both are coming off some wins. Both are kind of up and down the season. So, just where do you see this one coming in? What do you think happened in this game?
Yeah, I think the last game against Boston College isn't something Florida State really needs to worry about, especially if they were resting starters. They were probably looking ahead to this game. I think their focus is going to be, they're going to be completely dialed in. I've got Florida State winning this. I haven't really been that impressed by Clemson. They seem to be getting their stuff together in the past couple of weeks, but they've played Florida Atlantic and Charleston Southern. So I don't know really how you value that. We're just now, it feels like, getting into the real meats of everybody's schedule.
Yeah.
And there is not going to be as many of these cupcake games where Clemson or Florida State or whomever is going to be favored by 35, 40 points. So this is where the real challenge starts. I like Florida State. I like their quarterback. I like the weapons they have. Keon Coleman has looked fantastic so far. I really like what Florida State has there. Jared Verse has looked very, very, very solid. Looks like coming back was the right decision, at least for now. His draft stock has gone up. I've seen a lot of people have him move into the top 10 in the next NFL draft, that is. And so I just like the pieces there. The depth shouldn't be an issue for Florida State right now. I don't think they have many super important injuries. It's still very early in the year. They're not going to be worn down. I think FSU goes in there, and I think they come away with a solid victory of about 2 touchdowns.
Wow. I mean, I'm reading this game a little differently. I feel like this is going to be like a rock fight where it's, I think Clemson's defensive line will kind of stuff the run of Florida State. Florida State had trouble running last week against Boston College. I know they were risking some linemen, but I do wonder, will they be able to run on this Clemson defensive line? Will they be that physical team they need to be? I still feel like they're a little bit of a finesse team where they could score a lot of points, throw it down. I've seen them score like Ohio State. They can throw the ball a lot, but if they don't sit there and focus on the running game, they could be really in danger. So I can see Florida State winning this, but I'm thinking it's more of like a 3 to 7 point victory for Florida State where it can go back and forth the whole game, and Florida State pulls away at the end because they have the talent on the receiver, and I think that talent at the receiver will end up being the one that wins this game.
I mean, I know that the game is, you'll never be able to truly win without a running game. Like, so many people talk about like running back and all that sort of stuff, as if it's like the game has shifted so far away from relying on it that they're kind of just useless. But at the end of the day, the game has shifted. Like, that's why having the better quarterback is so important. If you can throw the ball on a team, you can do more or less whatever you want. And I think that's just going to be the case here with Florida State. I think they're going to be able to pass. I think they've got the quarterback. I think they got the weapons. I think their offensive line is good enough that Jordan Travis isn't going to be knocked on his butt every time he drops back or anything. So I just think that finesse is going to be enough in this case, because I don't think Clemson has the weapons to compete. So even if Florida State can't run the ball maybe the way they want to, I think they're going to be able to do whatever they want through the air, and that's going to be enough to really kind of separate them from Clemson in this game.
I think that makes sense. All right.